I'd like to circle back to the angry with God. Both Jay and I have been there. Some of the things that happen at the hands of people that would call themselves God followers probably make God mad too.
Welcome to Coffee with the Couple Cure, where we share practical tips for your relationship before you finish your first cup. Here's Jay and Lori Pyatt.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Couple Cure. My name is Jay.
And I'm Lori.
Today we're going to be talking about step 3 from 12 steps. That's what we've been working on this season. Step 3 says we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And this is really the first action step where we're turning something over. This is where we're giving something up. Step 1, we were just admitting and realizing things. And step 2, we were believing. But step 3, we're actually making a decision and turning our will and our life over to the care of God as we understand Him. There's several things in here that are kind of challenging. The first one is surrender. Because we are making a decision to turn it over. And Lori and I have had this conversation a few times about coming to the end of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
For people that are extremely self-reliant, which I think most people that deal with abandonment issues fall into this category, we've learned to adapt to every situation. And because we've learned to adapt, it's really hard to come to the end of ourselves short of just making a decision to stop. You know, it's putting down all of the things that I've used to survive to get to this point and realizing from step 2, or actually step 1, that all it's done is make my life more unmanageable. And so in step 3, we're letting go of all of that. And so in the big book, the way it addresses it, there's a phrase in there that says something along the lines of being beaten into a state of reasonableness. And for some people, it takes that. For some people, they absolutely have to be reduced to a state of just, okay, I will do whatever you tell me to do. I am so screwed up at this point. And I think in some ways we get there. But as soon as we get a little bit of momentum going, it's easy to pick it all back up.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to think, okay, I'm going again under my own power. And so this needs to be a daily decision to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
The step 3 prayer in the big book says, to free me from the bondage of self, so that I may be of use to God and to those around me. And it's a short, maybe one paragraph prayer in the Alcoholics Anonymous big book, but it's a good one. The one in Narcotics Anonymous is a little bit shorter. It basically says, God, show me how to live, is really all it says. But the big part here is making a decision. We can make a decision based on what someone else says to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I need to decide to do this because someone else told me to do it. And both of the big books address that. They say that that's a real possibility. So you need to be aware of that this decision may not start with you. But once you start going down this path, you need to decide to stay on this path every day, and continue to work these steps. My will. So the decision is not just to give up my life, but to give up my will. And that's where things get problematic, because I can pick my will up all the time. And when I see a little bit of improvement in surrender, I'm thinking, oh, well, I can go back to doing it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I can tell you from personal experience that that's not the way to go, because eventually you get back to the same unmanageable place you had been before. My will is much different than my life. My will is my choices, it's my desires,
Mm-hmm.
it's the things I want to do. And addicts like to do what they want to do when they want to do them, and they want to get the results that they want. And that's a big part of surrender, is understanding I need to do what God's telling me to do, and then I need to let go of the result.
Yeah.
Because I everything I've wanted to have go my way, for the most part, has led to pain for Lori, pain for me, and deeper into that unmanageable place.
Mm-hmm.
The other part is our lives. Um, and if we don't give up our life, this is uh, kind of what I said in step one. We have this alternative, either to continue on to the bitter ends of jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. And so step three is surrendering to that new way to live. Um, and if we won't give up our life, the pain will continue until
Mm-hmm.
we do. And as a Christian, I believe that God doesn't. I don't think God causes us pain, but I think our own choices causes us enough pain to finally be driven to our knees
Mm-hmm.
and say, God, I'm not doing this well.
Now, I do have one thing to say there, because I know betrayed wives might be going, okay, I did not ask for this pain.
Right.
Look at the first chapter of Job, where it says that Job was going through a lot of pain through no fault of his own.
Right.
Um, so sometimes we can go through pain and it not be our choice, it not be stemming from our actions. It might not be just the natural consequences of what we've done. So I just wanted to make that little caveat.
Yeah. Yeah. And both books are written toward the addict. They're not written toward the people that they've harmed.
Mm-hmm.
There are chapters in there that are addressed to the people that have been harmed, but none of these steps are directed toward what you should do because I'm an addict.
Right.
So um, that's that would be an Al-Anon book or something else.
Yeah.
Um, to the care of God, how God chooses to care for me may not line up with how I want Him to care for me. And Lori and I have talked about this. There's a verse that says, if you stumble, I will not let you fall. And the implication is to fall all the way on your face, a very bad fall. And Lori and I talked about it, and there's, do I want to fall 6 inches and have God save me, or do I need to fall almost all the way to the ground and God saves me then?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that the little 6 inch fall, that's where I want to get caught. Where God wants
Mm-hmm.
me or needs me to get caught may be right here,
Mm-hmm.
like right at the end of my nose. And not to harm me, but to say, I've got you, to say, I've got a way of caring for you that you're not used to.
Mm.
And it doesn't mean that you're always going to get what you want. It means that you're going to get what you need from me. And again, surrender is not an easy thing. If this were an easy thing, everybody would just breeze through this step. And then the last part is, as we understood Him, or as we understood God. Not trying to be offensive to anyone. That's just the way it was written in the 30s. Is it used the male pronoun? Um, and again, I'm coming from the Christian perspective, and I know a good deal of our listeners are, but there's also some people who are pretty angry at God. They're pretty hurt
Mm-hmm.
by someone who said, I'm following God and I'm hurting you because I'm following God, and all of
Mm-hmm.
that mess. And so, however you understand God, go back to the previous episode, however you understand God is the starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you discover. Lori has a great description. Tell our listeners what the description is of God in heaven of circling the mountain.
Oh, so my idea of that was that I just had this vision of, when I'm in heaven, there's this mountain with all these different facets, and I'll be flying around that mountain with everybody else, and it's like the sun will glint off of one of those facets, and I'm just floored about, of oh my gosh, that's a new side of God I've never seen before, and spend the next 1,000 years, heavenly equivalent of next 1,000 years, just marveling at that aspect of him. Is that
Right.
what you meant?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because as we dig deeper, we find more and more. And eventually, I think most of us come to this place of it's not what I know that I'm amazed by, it's what I don't know is what I'm amazed by. Anyway, the more I understand God, I realize I don't understand him that well, but I want to understand him more. I want to surrender more to see how he's going to meet a need in me, because as we learned in step 1, my life became unmanageable because I kept making my decisions and following my own will versus following the will of God.
Right. And I want to point out that he said, I want to find out how God is going to meet a need in me, not necessarily for me.
Right. Right. Yeah, it may simply be, my need for a new car is met by contentment with the car I
Hmm.
already have. And um, so it's allowing God to move in us in a different way than we've experienced in the past.
Hmm. Hmm.
Really not sure that I have anything else on step 3. It's kind of a simple step, but at the same time, it's a daily decision to surrender.
Yeah. I'd like to circle back to the angry with God. Both Jay and I have been there. And I can tell you that some of the things that happen at the hands of people that would call themselves God followers probably make God mad too, especially the effect of it.
Mhm.
So, if that's what's happened in your life, I first want to say I really wish it hadn't happened for you. I've been there. I know what it's like to go through that. And um, we're not too offended by people who aren't God followers. So just, I hope you feel some grace there. But as far as surrender, I know when I was first acquainted with the 12 steps, there was this letting go, let go and let God kind of a thing. And the more I knew God, the deeper it went. It wasn't just this little cute phrase that, well, let go and let God. It was like the deep things of me, the things I was so afraid to let go of. One by one, he took care of those, and I found him to be faithful. So this is the kind of 12-step following process that's going to make a big change for you is the one where you are putting your fears out there. You are putting it kind of all out on the line. There's a song that this step reminds me of, and it's by a guy named Rich Mullins. It's called Hard to Get. And uh, there's a line in it that I think encapsulates this step very clearly, and that is where I'm lost enough to let myself be led. And I know I've been there where it's like I have made a complete mess of my life. My best choices, my best thinking processes got me here, and I ruined nearly everything. So at that point, I was lost enough to let myself be led. And that's why I think this is like one of the critical steps in the 12 steps, because it's also a critical step in becoming a deeper follower of your chosen,
Higher power.
yeah, your chosen higher power. So, and if you are a Christ follower, um, and you're like, why are they not being more direct? It's because I've been given the mission to love. I have not been given the mission to judge those outside of the church. So that's kind of why we're not being maybe what you're used to there. And I've actually found that my way of loving actually leads people closer to the God of your understandings. So this is just what we've been given to do, and we appreciate your grace and patience with us. When it comes to will, what comes to mind is the will. Jay was talking about the desires, the wants, that sort of thing being all wrapped up in the will. And the thought that came to mind when he was talking about it was animals don't really have that. They're just on autopilot. God didn't give that to us. Therefore, we are required to make some decisions. Even in the Bible, it says, and this kind of goes to decision too, but, count the cost. Jesus says, count the cost before you sign up because it's a life changing thing. So I wanted to just point that out that because you have the ability to make decisions, because you have a will, then God expects you to do something with it. Um, Jay brought up lives equal, or, and then pain, lives hyphen pain on his paper here. And that's really the crux of it, I think, that, our biologies want to go in a certain way, yet um, the way we typically live life has put us in a ditch. So, doing something new, and it's not just thinking, you have to do something new, that's going to be painful. It's going to be really uncomfortable at first.
Mm.
So, there will be pain, there will be a stretching, there will be a lot of discomfort as you rewire your brain. And then he talked about care of God. And what comes to mind for me about that is only recently have I learned about how much God wants to bless us. I basically grew up thinking it's nothing but one bad time after another. And, God grew my character with that. Yet, um, I've recently realized how much He wants to bless us. So it's not that we're saying, you make a decision to turn your will and your life over to God, and then it's nothing but, crap. It's actually, He replaces the counterfeits
Mm.
with the real
Yeah.
thing. He replaces, I have to go to that place, I have to get that magazine, I have to get that chemical in order to feel good. What He replaces it with is, no, you can have joy now. You don't even have to go anywhere. It can even be a bad time and you
Mm.
can still have joy.
Yeah.
So, anyway, those are the thoughts that came to mind when Jay was talking.
All right. Well, thank you. This is step 3 and episode 3 of season 3. So a lot of 3s.
Yep.
We will see you all on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.